a second. I'm going to do a little bit of editing and then we will get going. So I'm tight for a minute. All right, got the mic on. We're good. Just give me a quick sec here. Get this thing cranking. All right, let me edit this video real quick. All right. All right, I think we are good. All right, welcome everybody. Just did the editing, so I'm gonna run through a couple of quick announcements. Hang tight, pull them up here. All right, so we are in the month of August. Yes, August is upon us already. Today is August 3rd. July's come and gone. It's flying by. So we have the events up for this month for the Patreon. I'm gonna run through that real quick. Let me back this up just a hair. Make some space here. We finished out the month of July. We devoted that whole month to set. I know a lot of you guys sent me feedback in the Patreon classes. Those that are in the Patreon classes reached out and shared some of your work you did this month with sets. I'm glad to hear there were people actually devoting that entire month to set, which culminated in a really good ritual that we did on the 28th, on the eve going into the 29th of the Feast of Set, which we pretty much took all of what we gathered and worked through for that entire month. And what we were focusing on is how we can work with Set in order to remove any obstructions or blockages, clear our paths, our roads, what it is about ourselves that we had to destroy, what it is in our life that we had to master. These were the things we were focusing on. It wasn't easy work. And as I said that in the beginning of the month, I told some of you guys, you're going to go through it. And some of you guys reached out and were sharing some really intense stories with me about some of the changes that were manifesting in your life, which is very common with SET. And sometimes that change can be very, tumultuous. And you're never fully prepared. That's one thing. You always have to be ready, right? If you're ready, you'll get past a lot of that, wondering what can happen. Is something going to go wrong? You'll never be 100% prepared for everything you will experience on this path. So just be ready, embrace it. And a lot of you guys did a good job on that. So I want to commend you guys that did do the work for the month. And now we're going to move on as we're in August. So let me run through Frontal blessings to all. If I didn't greet you personally, just shout out to some I see here real quick. Sananda, Sperlin, Lily, what's going on, brother? Xander, what's going on? Goddess Isis, Zach M, greetings to you. Organized Chaos, and everybody else. Shamafia. We messed that name up last time. But greetings to everybody and everybody else that comes in. So let me run through. We're in the month of August. First announcements I want to start with, because now we're getting very close as we're navigating through the year to the 6th annual journey of the Black Adept Conference. So let's next week we will start. You can start to register, sign up, and pay if you're going to attend live. There'll be 2 ways to attend the conference, like we've done for the last few years. You can attend live, obviously, which is the best way, because there's things that are going to go on live that you'll only be able to experience live, mainly the ritual work. You can also attend virtually all the classes. If you want to attend virtually, you can. You'll be able to tune in to all the classes on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if you're interested in attending either way, reach out to me. If you want to attend live or virtually, which will be like via Zoom, like we've done the last few years, just specifying your email and I'll send you that information. So we're going to start now taking, people signing up, registering, paying for their spot, and get this thing now moving as we are now in the month of August. As I said, second week in August, we'll start taking payments and registering. And it's the 18th to the dates. I got to get the dates straight. Hold on. I think it's the 18th to the 22nd or 19th to the 22nd. Well, let me get that straight. Hold on. Yeah, it is the 19th to the 22nd. As I said, the 19th, there'll be a meet and greet. We'll all get together, we'll meet, we'll break a little bread, talk. Everybody will meet each other, have a little fun. We're going to do a little throwback theme this year. More information to come on that. And don't be a party pooper. Don't be coming all like you don't want to participate or you too cool and all that good shit. And then after we get the meet and greet out of the way, which is great because we don't want to waste too much time on the next day. And believe it or not, we've been doing this now going on our 6th year. It's incredible how we think we time this thing so perfect as far as managing the time. It's like you get into this porthole and everything goes so quick and we find we have to make adjustments on the fly because we get into so much stuff and it opens up so many avenues to different dialogues and conversations and work that we're doing. So we start out with an itinerary. So when you sign up and register, you get a full digital itinerary sent to you, which has been working great for the last few years rather than do paper itinerary. Once you sign up and register, you get the full itinerary, and this way you can download it, you keep it on your phone. It gives you the full schedule for all 4 days. This way you know what we're doing, when we're doing it. So this way, traveling back and forth to your hotel, which the location is great because we're in the heart of downtown Hollywood, Florida, which is the southernmost part of Fort Lauderdale before you get into Miami. And you have everything there: restaurants, the beach is a few minutes away. There's hotels, Airbnbs. Um, so most people have been doing, as I said, the last few years, the Airbnb. People seem to find better deals and better accommodations with that. I know last year a few brothers stayed in a hotel that was literally walking distance from the venue. So it's very convenient. Most people don't even rent a car, they Uber it. So you don't even really need to rent a car because everything is so close and accessible. Some did, a few did, because if you want to get around, see sights, and do some extra stuff. But it's a very convenient location, and it's close to everything, and it's very minimal, travel, things of that nature. All right. And then Friday and Saturday will be classes and workshops with a ritual in the evening. And then both nights after the ritual, we all get together, have a group dinner. We go out, we eat, we vibe, we chill. And that's what it is. It's eating, vibing, and chilling. No more spiritual stuff. You got to learn to balance that out. So when we're out there hanging out, partying, and having fun, don't be walking up asking shit about the occult and the left-hand path. It's time to kick back, have some fun, listen to some music, get some food, and do that thing. Balance that energy, right? It's about knowing how to balance and harness both of those. But you got some motherfuckers that want to be spiritual 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it just doesn't work like that. All right? So that's Friday and Saturday. Then Sunday, we close the event out noon to 4, question and answer class, where you basically can ask whatever you want. And again, if you want to attend virtually, it'll give you access to all 4 days. All 3 days of the classes on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or you can attend live. So if you're interested, the email is on the bottom of the screen. We're going to start signing up, registering, getting that thing going. Reach out to me, send me an email, and I will send you the information. Okay. Also, a couple of things. Remember, we're live also on 3 platforms right now. We're live on Instagram, which is at Primordial Chaos 9 on Instagram. We're live on Facebook, Primordial Chaos, 2 words, and then we're live here, obviously, on YouTube, Primordial Chaos. Make sure you hit the like button, get the likes up, so this can expand out and reach more people. Get that algorithm flowing. Let's do it. So get those likes up, hit that like button. When more people come in the room, I would encourage you guys, tell people get the likes up. Let's get this out. Let's get this information out here. All right. Also, classes for this month. So we have the full itinerary for this month on Patreon. I encourage you. People always ask what kind of classes you offer. How can I participate in your classes? And again, the best way is to become a tier 3 Patreon member. If you want to participate, I do 3 private classes every month on Patreon, which can be anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. They're pretty lengthy. And we discuss everything on there. We got a bunch of ongoing series of different classes, Luciferian classes, vampiric classes. We got classes on ancient Egypt, occult Bible study classes. We have Kundalini Awakening and Meditation class, which we're doing number 8, I believe, this weekend coming up. We have shadow work classes, 17 or 18 and counting. We're covering everything on there. Luciferian magic and self-mastery, Klepothic classes. So if you really want to get detailed into the occult and learn the real shit, not the fluffy shit, not the fluffy bunny / new age / Orishi and all that other shit people are infusing with it, it's void of all that. If you're not really willing to go into it in depth, and I'm talking about just dive head in, then yeah, it's not for you. Okay. If you just want to learn and be a seeker, it could be for you, right? But we do work in those classes. It's not just about talking and gabbing, and there's work, there's rituals, there's discussions. So that's the best way to get at me. If you want to participate in the classes, I encourage you, again, go to patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. That's the official Primordial Chaos Patreon page. And tier 3 gives you access to the 3 private classes every month and the monthly ritual that we do as a group. You can sign up individually, all that information. If you want to take individual classes, not as good as a bargain financially. But you can sign up for individual classes. That information is posted on all the platforms that we are live now. Facebook, Primordial Chaos, 2 words, Primordial Chaos 9, all one word on Instagram, and right here in the community section on the YouTube page. All right. So having said that, this month's classes and ritual for this month, let me put that out there real quick. Also, we will be having a special guest coming back, returning, Sister Kiona, as we had her on a couple of months ago, reviewing her Hecate, that she contributed to the Hecate book of the Temple of the Ascending Flame. She's coming back to do an interesting discussion on Lilith and awakening or reawakening sexual energy. And we're going to be talking about some other stuff. So she'll be returning. I believe it's on the 11th. We'll get that posted soon. Looking forward to getting her coming back. We'll have a couple other guests returning. But the classes and the rituals for this month, let me pull that up so I give you the right times, the right dates. So we kick off this Saturday, August 5th, Kundalini Yoga and Meditation Awakening class number 8. That'll take place this Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then on Thursday, August 17th, we will be doing Telepathic Sorcery and Magic class number 4. That'll take place at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then on Friday, August 25th, we will have the Ritual Thicker or Dicker Circle of the Black Assassins Order. We will be connecting with the energy of Shaitan, the Jinn, working with a lot of those Eastern left-hand path spirits, Ahriman. So we have a bunch of chants and mantras that will be performed in this particular ritual with some other stuff and activating the black flame. I'm looking forward to this ritual. I look forward to all of them, but this has a personal place with me. So that'll be on Friday, August 25th, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's for Patreon members only. The Ritual Dicker Circle of the Black Assassins Order. Connecting with that Shaitan energy, that Iblis energy, and going in deep on that. More to come on that as we go through the month. And then we finish out the month the next day on Saturday, August 26th with the Luciferian Magic and Self-Mastery class. And I believe we're up to number 8, 7 or 8, 8. And that'll be at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, August 26th. So again, the best way to participate in that is to go to patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, join tier 3. And that will give you access to all the monthly classes. Okay. So that's the best way when you reach out to me. What classes do you offer? How can I join your classes? I get this email all the time. And as you know, I always send you guys to the link to the Patreon page. All right. Last but not least, if you are interested in a spiritual reading, a telepathic, demonic reading, a Santa Muerte reading, an Egyptian oracle reading, shadow work reading, which is always a suggested reading when you're looking for direction, purpose, what you should be doing. Those readings are based on what you got going on around you in the current moment and what you inherited, in your journey of life. And it'll point you in the correct direction you need to be in as far as what kind of ritual work you need to be doing, what you need to be focused on. And it'll help you give you that purpose, that sense of direction. Deity readings to see what spirits or demons walk with you to further enhance your relationship with those spirits, not to worship them. For a full list of readings or services that I offer, shoot me an email. You see that information going on the bottom of the screen. And the email address is right there, khnum19@gmail.com. All right, having said that, let's get into our topic for this evening, the Black Sun and Signs of Spiritual Awakening. People always ask, how do I know things are working? How do I know things are changing? How do I know? We hear this term in a lot of spiritual circles. I'm woke, right? I hate the fucking term, but it's a term a lot of people use when they are making a statement because they believe that they are quote unquote woke, right? I don't like it because it's used also in other circles. it's kind of got a negative connotation, but we'll use it because it's something most people are familiar with. So how do you know you're awake or you're enlightened or things are happening and changing around you? Well, it starts, let's get into the black sun before we get into the signs of a spiritual awakening. We hear this term on this path. What is the black sun? When we're hearing this, when it's in reference to the occult, the left-hand path, or black magic, right? It's used in different systems of spiritual practice on the left-hand path. There's a lot of similarities on the approach and the meaning, but you'll see there might be slight variations of methods of how it's applied per se in ritual. But let's first get an understanding of what that is. I talk about it a lot. It's very heavily encoded in demonic integration work, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But let me pull up. I want to refer you guys to a book that I had reference to. It's a book called The Black Sun, The Occult Imperium. Hold on. And it's available on Amazon. The Black Sun Imperium is the name of the book. There's a longer name added to it, but if you just Google Black Sun Imperium, it'll come right up. It deals with the concept in this book working with the Dark Lords. It's not per se a Sith book. So I know you might hear that term Dark Lords, and that's usually attributed to Sith path or Sith philosophy. And there's a connection with the Sith path, the Dark Lords, and Luciferian philosophies and principles, because it's all centered and geared around self-mastery. This should be your goal while you're on this path, okay? When people ask, and I always got to bring this up, and I like to even bring this up sometimes when I meet people for the first time who are on this path, what is your purpose and your intent for being on this path? It's a very straight to the point question. And it's interesting sometimes the answers you get, because some of them are pretty off the wall. But I'm okay, and I say okay because not to be judgmental, I think we need to be on this path for the purpose of mastering ourselves on all levels, to be the best that we can be in life, right? To master ourselves, what I designed the whole mentorship program on Patreon about, which is the 5 points of self-mastery on the pentagram. We go in deeper on a very esoterical level of what that pentagram and Baphomet means to us. And those 5 points, each point represents 1 point of mastery, mastering ourselves spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and yes, financially, okay? Most definitely, right? This is why you should be here. We don't do this because it's the click thing to do. It's the happening thing at the moment, or I want to be down with some Mickey Mouse club, or I want to feel deep and dark and heavy. We don't do this for any of those reasons. We do this because this is a path of self-mastery, true spiritual awakening on a level that you have never experienced. I don't care what path you were prior. You're not going to get it on the level you need to get it until you walk this path the correct way, okay? Yes, you can get moments of enlightenment in the lesser systems. You know, they serve a purpose to a degree. But if you really want to take it to the next notch, this is why we're supposed to be here. You want to be the best you can be at everything you do in life. First and foremost, the best self you can be, right? It's about embracing every aspect of yourself, the good, the bad, the ugly. All of those things are a sum total of who you are. You must embrace them, even the bad shit, or what we're labeling the bad shit, right? Because that's a matter of perception too, right? Let's go into this black sun real quick. Well, not real quick. A lot of you have heard the name or seen the symbol of the black sun. In dark side philosophies, this is a frequently returning symbol which is revered by the Dark Lords with the utmost respect. And also in the mundane realm, it is seen as an eerie symbol of power. And I'm going to give you some more on this as we go through. There are many elaborations on what the black sun is. Often it gains a negative connotation due to the relation as it has with Hitler's reign, and therefore it is associated with dead and the morbid right-wing politics and a reign of terror. And that's the stereotype stuff. Unmistakably, the black sun is a symbol of power that speaks to our imagination. But what is its precise function and meaning? And how did it get its name, and what does it truly mean? Now, as I said before, you see it also, for an example, a book we use, and we've discussed here many times on the YouTube channel. We use it in our shadow work classes, The Black Sun by Malthus, right? I'm sorry, not the Black Sun by but in Malthus's book, he talks about the Black Sun. The book is The Black Ship. I'm sorry. And he talks about the black sun being the abode or the pandemonium Mandela of the demons of the black sun. Now, as I've broke down to you guys many times before, that black sun resides within. And there's three suns that come together and merge as one when the individual on an occult level becomes truly, if you want to use the word woke or awakened, right? When these three suns merge as one, right? And these three suns, we're talking about the sun that resides in the sky, which plays an important role in spiritual growth, awakening, and consciousness. We're talking about the black sun in this region here, the solar plexus, and that's why they call it a solar plexus, because there's literally a fire burning in there. And yes, there's connections there to the black flame of consciousness, the black sun. There's all connections there. And then we know there's other abodes in the multiverses where other suns exist, whether you call, some say there's suns beneath the earth's surface. Some believe that there's realms down there. But we know we're also talking about a spiritual black sun that exists in the multiverse of the many dimensions of our subjective consciousness, right? They all are one, but when these all merge, these three awaken and form one, this is when the practitioner becomes truly awake. Now, as I said before, right, there's a reason why they call this area the solar plexus. As we know, the ancient Latin word for sun is soul, S-O-L, right? We know there's an English word called soul, right? We see what's going on out here now because the physical sun right now is whooping some ass all over the place. Lately, there's been a lot of heat waves. As I told you before, the earth gets closer to the sun, things start to change, not just on the planet, not just in nature, but also within your subconscious mind. The sun releases so much energy that activates consciousness within individuals that are in alignment and are in tune with the spiritual changes and growth going on around them and within them. So what's happening, though, to those that are not in alignment, for those that are not connecting with their true spiritual self, crazy shit starts happening. Mental confliction kicks in. All forms of not being able to cope, not being able to handle stress, anxiety. Mother Nature renews its history every time we go through what they call an equinox. 2 equinoxes, as I said before, equal an epoch. Mother Nature right now is going through serious changes. The planet is going through serious changes. We're going through that cycle or that transition period where you are alive, living in it, seeing it, and experiencing it, right? And this is why I said more now than ever, you need to get your shit together so you don't go batshit crazy in your mind. Because as these things start to intensify in nature and within yourself, shit can go haywire if you're not in tune, okay? This is the explanation over the years why we're seeing, as I said before, whether it's cataclysmic weather events or people going batshit crazy and carrying out mass shootings and doing all other types of shit, right? What makes a person just snap and lose it, right? We on the surface, we might see some signs of what causes it, but it goes deeper than that. So when we talk about the micro and the macrocosm, the connection of nature and spirituality and creation in relationship to us and our path, there's a connection there. And you better understand it, right? You better be able to connect with it. And as I said, as long as you are moving in unison with the changes, you'll be fine. But if you try to resist this and you try to stay stuck doing the same bullshit you've been doing, it's going to be a bumpy ride for a lot of people. And in war, there's casualties of war, unfortunately. There will be casualties of war. That's just what war does. There will have to be casualties. Let's just hope it's none of us, okay? All right, let's continue. The symbol of the black sun is subsequently associated with the essential self, right? As I said here, in the solar plexus region, there's a fire burning all the time. And you can use basic common sense science to understand that. When you breathe, right, you breathe in oxygen. When you exhale, you give off carbon dioxide, right? That's the same thing. A fire needs oxygen to burn. And when a fire burns, it gives off what? Carbon dioxide. So there is literally a fire burning within you, right? You sense this if you ever drank strong alcohol, or as they say, they call it spirits, right? Not a coincidence. They call it spirits, and the license that a place that serves alcohol, they need to get the license is called the gin license, right? Not a coincidence. But alcohol contains ether, so that's why if you drink, say, strong tequila or vodka or rum fast, and it burns, we've all experienced it if you've drank. That's the reason why. It burns right in that chest area or the solar plexus region. This is why I also said when that flame is activated, if you have a certain amount of alcohol in your system that contains ether, you can get pulled over and fail a sobriety test, and you may not be physically drunk. But the sobriety test will come back registering high levels of ether or alcohol. So we got to be conscious of this. This is why we've all run into people who said, man, I got pulled over. I got a DUI and I wasn't even drunk. And they might have passed the physical test, but they didn't pass the breathalyzer. Okay. So if you're breathing in oxygen and you're giving off carbon dioxide, fire does the same thing. There's a fire burning within you that the pilot needs to be activated. And it goes a little deeper. So we're going to talk a little bit about this. All right. So it is the essential self, the core of being, the hidden radiance underlying the manifest sun or the ego. In old days, the name of Sol Nigrum referred to Saturn, emitting all its mystical influences and changing the contact with eternity and reality. And reality at its maximum. Saturn is also the sphere associated with time. Contact, in many cases experienced as collision with the black sun, is associated with the experience of burning away the trash of the personality, right? Leaving only the essential nature of the fundamental element. In many occult works, it symbolizes the crossing of the abyss before getting to the essential self. And this is what you are essentially doing when you come on this path. It's that journey of crossing over into the abyss that is the challenge, that is work, that is going to be tough, that is going to pose a lot of, I don't want to say issues in the sense that they can't be resolved, but challenges, obstacles. You're going to have to work your way to it, because that's the only way one can get to the essential self. And he uses the term here, burning away the trash, all the bullshit about yourself, right? Part of that process of journeying and getting to crossing the abyss to get to the essential self is by destroying, eliminating, removing all the weak aspects of yourself. And that's person, that's places, and that's things. Okay? So you have to ask yourself, what things do I need to work on about myself? What do I need to change? What personality characteristics do I have, good and bad? What habits do I constantly exhibit, good and bad? Okay? And most of all, observe your environment as far as person, places, and things. What am I doing that's connected to my surroundings and environment that could be toxic? Right? This is all part of, as the term used, burning away the trash. See, people want shit to change, but they don't want to change anything about themselves. That shit is hilarious to me, right? People want to get on paths of enlightenment or spirituality, and they think they're just going to read some books, take some classes, burn a few candles, say a few invocations or prayers in certain cases, and they think that's just going to fix everything, but not make an effort to change at the root core of self, and it starts within. Remember, this is an inward journey out. It's not an outward journey in. The problem with most spiritual paths, you're always looking somewhere out there for the answers, for some God, for some spook being, for some mystical being in the sky that's sitting on a throne somewhere out there, always taken away from yourself. They never want you to connect to the divine that exists within you. And that black sun, that fire, that flame, or we call it the black flame of consciousness, has been burning within you since you were birthed into this realm. That's where you will find the God that you've been searching for since day one. But there was an intentional plan from the time you emerged from the womb in the chaotic watery abyss of Nun, out of the womb of your mother. There was a concentrated effort to snatch that soul and indoctrinate it and mislead it and push you in the wrong direction. So you got indoctrinated with Christianity and Islam and Judaism and all the other systems that branch out from it. They indoctrinated you with fear. As I said, fear is the number one tool they use to keep the masses controlled. If I can get you to be scared shitless of something and get you to cooperate and get down with the program, and religion is based on fear, people. If you do this and follow all the rules and the regulations, it's a great reward waiting for you. You're going to go to heaven. You're going to be floating around on clouds with little fat kids in diapers and, and all that mythological bullshit they program your mind with. But if you're bad, watch out. You're going to this place called hell where, there's this devil with a pitchfork and he's going to torture you. And they created all of this mythology to indoctrinate you, to stamp fear into your heart, your mind, and your soul, so that fear would get you in alignment with what they were trying to accomplish, which was control the masses. Okay? And they also taught you to look everywhere else for the creator except for within yourself. So they kept taking you further and further away from the truth. This is why those systems don't work for us. This is why we don't utilize those systems. This is why a lot of us left, and a lot of you, this is why you're here today. Because you started to sense that there was a greater purpose. And that's one of the signs of spiritual awakening. When you start to see that life has a greater purpose, you start to sense there's more. There's a greater meaning and purpose for your life and your role and your place in your life and in this world. I'm going to go through some other signs of awakening, but that's one. That's the introductory stages of awakening. That's why a lot of us, how we got here, right? Because something just didn't add up, right? And that's that black sun started to burn hard within, and it started to point you in another direction, right? Soul, solar plexus, the whole nine, it's all connected, all right? So essentially, you're journeying across the abyss to get to the essential self, the real you, right? Because you're going to find out if you're really doing work on this path, you're going to find out you picked up a lot of bullshit along the way in this journey. You've been fooling yourself. You've been living a lie for a long time, and you just didn't know it. You've been trying to portray yourself and the image and how you want people to see you as some shit you really not. And you start to realize, wow, I've been living my life focusing on some serious bullshit. Okay? Because in order to get to the essential self or the real self, you must remove those veils of illusion of who you think you are or who you're trying to portray yourself to be, and really embrace who you really are, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
It's okay to have weaknesses, but work on them, master them, make them strengths. But first step is embracing them and being real with yourself. And it could be, hey, man, look, man, I got a fucked up temper. I need to work on that shit. Hey, I got to be a better father or mother to my children. I got to work harder at that. I'm slacking in that department. I got to be real with myself. Hey, I got bad spending habits. I realize I'm in a lot of financial crisis because I put myself there, but I'm in fucking denial. Or, hey, I got a lot of emotional and mental issues, but I'm blaming everybody else for my problems, right? These are the hardcore questions you address when you deal with the shadow self through shadow work. And as you make that journey across the abyss to the essential self, you are going to have to deal with the shadow self. It's not an option, people. It's not like you can't bargain on this path. See, the difference of what we do is other paths will tell you to pray that away, meditate it, avoid it, sweep it under the rug, don't give it no energy, don't pay it no attention. That's a bunch of bullshit, okay? Because with that resistance comes stronger persistence. Because if you do that, I promise you at some point, all of that bullshit will bubble to the surface and it will explode in your face. And at that time, it might be too much for you to handle. This is why some people who are on paths of enlightenment are all giddy and uppity when things are going great. It's light and love and peace, and I love you. But as soon as adversity comes, these motherfuckers lose their mind because there was this false sense of security. They put up that illusionary veil that they thought that they could just wipe this stuff away. It doesn't work like that. What we do is we grab the bull by the horns, as they say, right? And we intentionally, we put on the battle, we put on our warrior garb, and we go to war. We voluntarily want to face this head on because we know it must be done in order for us to get to that essential self, that real you, that God or that goddess that lies dormant within, that's been sleeping. They've smothered that black sun or that black flame that's burning within you. And once they've smothered that flame and that burning is not burning, that burning desire to gain knowledge, to grow, to awaken that essential self so you can really tap into who you are, now you become a prime target to be indoctrinated. Religions are an easy sell to you. Feeding off of your emotions and controlling your mind is an easy thing for people to do, right? This is the things we've got to start understanding clearly, okay? This abyss resonates with the black sun as a certain void. In a way, it's an invisible sun. That clearly is the realm of the unmanifested, right? And that's why I said when we talk about your subjective realm or your subjective consciousness, right, which exists on the other side of person, place, and thing, you will truly not understand this journey. And as I said before, everything spiritual cannot be explained in a book. Fuck all those people out there that love to throw the term, oh, that's pseudo stuff you're talking about, because it's not in a book by some mortal that wrote it, that you can't confirm it to make you feel comfortable. That's okay, if that's your stance. But there's a lot of us here, a lot of you guys that are here in this YouTube chat room right now, you've experienced stuff that you cannot explain, that in mortal terms. It doesn't matter if somebody says, oh, that's pseudo, it's subjective. Of course, everything you experience is subjective because it exists outside of person, place, or thing. When you have a spiritual experience like astral travel or out-of-body experience or some type of spiritual visual experience you have with the spirits or the demons or some type of quote-unquote phenomena, of course it's not going to be able to explain in a book. But you got a group of people that want, who's the source? Like any mortal is the sole authority and source on any of these topics. No, because a lot of these books that people are using as credible sources, remember, those people were considered pseudo at one time. So when does it go from pseudo to being acceptable as real? When the masses start to agree with somebody in a large amount. Then all of a sudden, that person or that book or source or reference becomes a valid source. That's it. But when we're talking about things of a spiritual nature, not all of it is explained in a book, okay? We must keep that in mind. To many light side followers, the black sun is an atmosphere that develops among them as a general imprint that encircles a group identity and is thought of something that exists in the lower astral plane, created by all dense and negative energies from all beings and thought forms in the multiverse, right? And some will call that the demiurge, right? In certain circles. That's not what this black sun is, though, right? That's a false definition of it. Now, you won't hear that in so many circles. I have heard that before. The author puts it here in the book, which I find interesting. I don't hear that in a lot of circles. I have heard it in a few here and there. And again, some classify it as the demiurge, right? These negative energies, lower vibrational energy, as they believe in the duality of good and bad, that we create daily are attracted to energy of the same essence. And this results in a massive, almost infinite amassing of negative energy in the lower astral plane. The intriguing part, however, is utilizing that energy. When we in present day practice the black sun workings, we do so with the intention of affecting the physical plane. So when you're doing a black magic working and you're trying to tap into certain spiritual energy to cause an effect on this physical plane, that is the realm that you go to draw that energy to do that, right? Working magic, as I said before, removing all the Harry Potter, hocus pocus spiritual bullshit, Puff the Magic Dragon shit that's out there. Working real spiritual magic, black magic, whatever you want to refer to it as, is a science, okay? Takes a lot of discipline, it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of consistent practice at that craft or that work. This essentially is the sciences of how you change your environment and master yourself. That's what real magic is. Okay, it's not poof, you wave my, all that shit you see on the internet and movies, right? Remember, that's to sensationalize shit. But you draw from that plane. And your goal when you're using that energy, as it says here, is to affect something on the physical plane. Okay? Those who keep their eyes open have seen just how real this is. That being said, the material effects of the black sun workings are of a subtle perception in this plane. Okay? The powers drawn from the black sun would have a greater material impact than the physical plane, due to its vibration being extremely low and therefore being closer to matter itself. In a way, the black sun symbolizes the shadow aspect of self. It does not imply shadow as an evil, but shadow as in the subconscious, the hidden realm, right? And going into the void or the abyss is going into the deep aspects of your subconscious mind. And that is where the true shadow self resides. All aspects of the true shadows, the one you've been avoiding since day one, right? You've only been embracing the shit about the shadow self you like. You love to pat yourself on the back about I'm good at this. I'm the best at this. I'm the biggest, best. I'm the flyest. I'm this, I'm that, and the third, and whatever. But you don't want to go, you know what? I'm a little fucked up in the head in this area. You know what? I need to do some work on this and that. See, that you don't want to do. You want to pat yourself on the back for all the good things. That's the weak part of your ego, right? Remember, all ego isn't bad. I know there's a lot of people out there that say, just destroy and eliminate all aspects of ego. Bullshit. Your ego also protects you. There's strength points of strength of your ego, and there's weak points of your ego. Yes, weak aspects of your ego can devour and destroy you and get you into a lot of serious shit, okay? When you think you're the biggest, baddest dude out there, I could beat everybody's ass, and then you get your ass kicked because you run into the person that was bigger and badder than you. Oh, I got the biggest dick in the world. I'm slinging. No. And then you get your feelings hurt when you're messing with some chick and she tells you. Or the worst part of your ego can be when you know you're 100% dead fucking wrong, but you will sit there and exhibit what I call cognitive dissonance, which is just completely ignoring the truth when it's thrown right in your face. It's like watching somebody commit a murder and seeing the knife in the back, but you're still in denial that the person committed the murder. That's a serious form of a destructive part of your ego, when you have cognitive dissonance, when you will not accept anything as truth because your ego, it might be in opposition to your personal morals, standards, or beliefs. Okay? So those are destructive parts of your ego, but your ego also protects you against anything that's dangerous. The ability to go into protect mode when you're in danger, that's your ego. That's a good thing. The ability to speak up against something you know is an injustice or false, that's a strong part of your ego. The ability to want to help less fortunate people, raise your kids to the best productive way you can to help the less fortunate, etc. Those are good aspects of your ego. So don't let nobody tell you that it's about destroying your ego. It's about understanding your ego. You can't destroy the ego completely. That's bullshit. Okay? Because pride on any level is an attribute of the ego. And pride is a fine line. There could be false pride, arrogant pride, egotistical pride, or there can just be pride in doing something like, again, helping an elderly person or helping a sick person, right? Or helping the less fortunate, etc. There's good reasons to exhibit pride for those type of reasons. That's a good form of your attribute or your pride, right? But there's false pride too. So again, we could flip through all of these things. It's about understanding the ego and how you exhibit and how you express utilizing those aspects of your ego. It's not about destroying it altogether. It's a bunch of bullshit. Okay. All right. So the shadow is not evil as it says here. It is the shadow as in the subconscious, the hidden realm. The truth is many do not know the shadow realm in itself. To any extent, it is impossible for a human being to know the full depth of the subconscious realm. Okay. This is due to the fear of the unknown alone, merely because when it shows up, many are frightened of the impact it has on themselves and the environment. Okay. Now, as I said in the beginning of the video, you can never fully be prepared of what you're going to experience on this path. Anybody that tells you otherwise don't know what they're talking about. You just prepare and you make yourself aware to the best of your ability. Because as it says here, most people go back to what they were doing. They just don't cut it on this path is for that reason alone, fear. They usually get to a point in their journey where something happens and it triggers fear. And they usually run back into something because the conscious mind always needs to latch on to something that makes it feel comfortable. It's no different than when you're meditating. When people always talk about sometimes when they meditate, they have a hard time focusing and concentrating. Because how many times have you meditated in the past, or when you first started out, you're trying to meditate and you're thinking about some chicken you got in the refrigerator or something you're going to go do when you're done. See, because the conscious, when you start to still the mind and tap into the silence and the darkness, the subconscious mind starts to emerge and the true self starts to manifest. But the conscious mind is like, fuck, I'm bored. What is this? I need something. That's the insecure part of yourself that needs to latch on to something that makes it feel comfortable. So you could be in meditation thinking about that piece of apple pie or that piece of chicken in the refrigerator, or tomorrow I'm going to go over here and do it. Your mind, your conscious mundane self needs to attach to something that makes it feel secure. Okay. But when you block that out, and this is why a lot of people are afraid of the dark or to sit in the dark, or when you were younger, before you were conscious and aware, this is why a lot of us were small children, we're programmed to be afraid of the dark, right? We sit in the dark, oh, the boogeyman's going to manifest coming. The boogeyman's coming, right? What the fuck? Where did that come from? Did we ever stop and ask anybody where that really came from? Think about how it was just the fear of sitting in darkness. How many times as a small child, you may have walked into a room, right? And it was dark. And after a while being there, fear started to emerge to the surface. How many times when you were a little kid, you were laying in your bed and maybe you hung your jacket on the back of your door and your mind start playing tricks on you, think there's a person standing there. It's the mind. There's the fear kicks in, right? And all of it's self-created. The boogeyman that you are afraid of is the real you that's trying to emerge. That presence, when you're in a dark room and you're feeling some presence that you termed as the boogeyman when you were ignorant, that was the real you emerging from within. And it was foreign and unknown because you never ever connected to it. So the boogeyman you were fearing all the time existed within you. Think about it. You all of us at least experience it once or twice or whatever. We all were in a dark room at one time by ourselves, and we wig the fuck out. After a while, we start mind, what's that? Oh my God, it's so dark in here. And we start looking around, and things start to looking like they're not. But what happens when you stay in a dark room after a while? The pupils start to adjust. The room that was so pitch black and dark is now illuminated with light, where you could see once the eyes adjust. Okay? But you're not able to see and adjust and tap into when the real you emerges. Back then, you termed it the boogeyman. And this is why I say that there's a practice we do in the shadow work class. Sit in darkness and silence. I'm talking about with nothing. No candles, no incense, no music, no light. Just sit, do rhythmic breathing, do decompression breathing, deep breaths in through the nose, out through the nose, retain a breath, and then exhale it out through the mouth, and just tap into the silence and the quietness and the darkness. You will start to see an influx of thoughts coming, and you'll start to filter out a lot of your bullshit thoughts. And you will start to see, when you break down the percentage, a lot of the shit that comes into your head, you put there, a lot of it is a waste of fucking time. And you'll be able to filter out all the useless thoughts. And the real, true demonic self can start to emerge. The genius self, the real you, the demonic self, the personal daemon starts to emerge to the surface. You start to get clear communication and guidance. We call it that inner voice. Women call it the that's that women's intuition. No, that's your true self, the essential of self trying to merge and communicate to you. You can call it whatever you want. But imagine if you had that activated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, not just in certain situations. So imagine if a woman had woman's intuition 24/7, not just when she thought a man was cheating on her, or not when she just thought some heifer was talking shit about her, right? Let's use that sense and power for things deeper and beyond that. So the boogeyman you were running from your whole life was yourself, okay? There was nothing hanging on that. You scared yourself. How many of you thought you slept? You watched let me show you how the fucking mind works. How many of you guys watched a scary movie when you were a kid and laid on the bed and thought there was something under the bed or the bed's moving? Only movie that ever really scared the living shit out of me, I mentioned this to you guys before, was The Exorcist, the original Exorcist, and it was the bed scene. And I remember watching that as a kid. I couldn't have been no more than 10, 11 years old, maybe younger. And I tricked myself into thinking, because you know the part when she's on the bed and the bed starts moving and she goes up, I could have sworn that the devil was under my bed and the bed was going to start wigging the fuck out. But that's how the programming starts. We instill that in us. All the fears, the things you're terrified of, you've been running from, they were all indoctrinated, and then you cultivated them and gave them power in life. You self-created them into something even bigger than they actually were. And these are what you say today are the demons I'm trying to fight. Okay? As you label. Okay? So it's time to wake the fuck up. Okay? It's time to really understand what this is about. So all that bullshit, that negativity and darkness, that's all bullshit. Okay? The truth is, many do not know the shadow realm in itself. To any extent, it isn't. This is where we left off. It is impossible for human beings to know the full depth of the subconscious realm. This is due to the fear of the unknown alone. Merely because when it shows up, many are frightened of the impact it has on themselves and their environment. For the greater time it is hidden, people only become aware of it when it emerges in the most bizarre or unexpected forms. That's because they've been suppressing it and burying it for years. That's why. So when you're trying to run from your bullshit, though, I like these group of people. They think they live in one place, they got a fucked up life, a toxic life, crazy shit going on. They think just by relocating somewhere else that's going to fix everything, as if their bullshit isn't going to come with them. It don't work like that, people. If you're fucked up and it's about you, just changing a location isn't going to fix it. Yeah, I know a change of scenery can help to a degree, but you know how many people run from their bullshit? You know how many clients I deal with over the years? They thinking just by moving, I'm going to move from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. Like your bullshit ain't coming with you. If it's some shit about you, about your personality, your character, your nature, moving somewhere else isn't going to change that. It just means it might stall it from manifesting again. And then what winds up happening, it starts to come to the surface again. So you can't avoid your bullshit. Stop acting like you ain't got nothing wrong with you. That's step one. As I said many times before, anybody that thinks they ain't got nothing wrong with themselves, that's the first problem they got, thinking they ain't got nothing wrong with themselves. Okay, we all got some bullshit we're dealing with. Okay, we all have inherited something along the way, whether it was through our upbringing, whether it was a toxic relationship with our parents or siblings, whether it was a very psychologically emotional, damaging childhood. It could be that. I'm not saying everybody. Sexual abuse, a very serious, detrimental, damaging factor that can destroy a lot of people's lives when not dealt with. Verbal abuse, physical abuse, right? Growing up in a household, you know how many clients I get, they were told by their parents growing up their whole life, you ain't going to be shit, you're nothing, you're a nobody, you're a piece of garbage. That's because they were told that. And their parents were told that, right? If you don't address it and deal with it and break the cycle, nothing changes. And what you do is start to project that on your kids now. And I see this all the time. Most people that treat their kids like shit, they're projecting what was projected on them to their children. It really pains me sometimes to my heart to listen and see the toxic relationship some parents today have with their children. I mean, I'm talking about just the way they communicate with each other is damaging, people. Okay? These are things you got to address. So moving somewhere isn't going to change that. You're still going to be the same asshole you were where you left. Okay? And this is the reality of what true spiritual awakening is. If you don't want to deal with that stuff, then stay in those paths where you can hide and try to bury shit temporarily anyway. Okay? You can fool yourself, because I know a lot of other people, teachers and systems are going to tell you, no, bury that. No, don't give in to that. Pray it away. Meditate. That's all bullshit. Okay? Because all you're doing is suppressing it. And as I said, that day will come where it would all blow up in your face and you won't be able to deal with it. All right? All right. Yet many of our lives are subconscious. The aim of the Black Sun Imperium is offering methods and accessible information that leads to a greater awareness and expanded palette one can work with to manifest something powerful in this world, which is self, or in its minimum, self-related. The Black Sun is the opposite of the sun. The negative connotation is due to the term black. Black is denoted as malicious, dark, negative, oppositional to white, which is benign, light, positive, etc. And they did this shit with little stupid shit like devil's food cake is black or brown, angel's food cake is white, right? I mean, just little dumb shit like that, right? It's done intentionally. And like I said, darkness cannot be a bad thing for all those religious people who think it is, because if they were real with themselves, they would have to admit when they read the first chapter of Genesis, the very first verse, God confirms, their biblical God, I'm saying, in their doctrine, in their ideology, confirms he is in darkness. He says, in the beginning, God's spirit roamed across the face of the void and the deep. And God existed in this void and the deep before he said, what? Let there be light. because true light is sought at in the darkness. In order to get true intellect, one must go into the darkness to do the work of the light. It's why every initiatic order blindfolds the initiate, and the initiate goes through the degrees blindfolded. Because the eye that the initiate must use to see are not these two eyes, but it's this eye. Their very prophet Jesus said in their Bible, when the body becomes full of light, the eye becomes one. He was talking about this. And if you've ever been through an initiatic ritual or you've ever done ritual work in the darkness, as I said before, once you are able to tap in, once you connect with the vibrational and frequency of the void and the abyss, you start to see, right? The physical eye thing goes away. I remember seeing vividly. I remember going through, per se, my Masonic degrees. And I remember after all of the adrenaline starts to come down with being blindfolded, because what happens is when you're blindfolded in the dark, you can't, what's that? What's that sound? What's that? What's it? You start to use your higher senses. And then you get so comfortable to the fact you're visually seeing, but not with these two eyes. It's a visual. It's not the same as seeing with the physical eyes. And you're able to navigate with no problem through the darkness. It's just a phenomenal thing when you experience it. And then you realize this is what I emerged from. This is where I originally was birthed out of. So how can I fear something I emerged from? Because when you came into this illusionary world of artificial light, that fake ass light, that's when the chaos really started for you. Okay? Because artificial light brings chaos. The light is what brings chaos. What happens? What's the first thing you do when you've been asleep all night or you've been in the dark? What's the first thing you do when you come out and the light hits you? You do this, right? Because it creates this chaoticness that hits you all at once. The light causes that. The artificial light. The light we're talking about in the darkness is intellect, is knowledge. That's a different form of illumination. That light is blinding. And every religion of the right-hand path philosophy and lesser systems are always trying to do what? Bring you into the light. They're trying to bring you into the chaos. They're not trying to make order out of the chaos. We're doing the reverse. We're saying go into the darkness, okay? So you can embrace that chaos and understand it. Because until you do that, you will never know how to make order out of it. That's what the whole last month of working with Set was about, people. We went into the darkness and the chaos. And Set said, boom, here it is. Here it is. Let's do this. Let's get to work. Boom. Nothing is hidden there. Nothing is hidden there. You will encounter every aspect of your subconscious mind. Every personal fear that you manifested is there. Every joyful, happy thing that you love is there. Everything you despise is there. Every emotion of anger, love, lust, hate, joy, happiness, sadness, it exists there. It is the very fabric, some existence of everything you are. And when you go into that, it's very chaotic and you have to make order out of it. Why do I have this rage? Sometimes certain situations, or maybe I carry a lot of rage. You'll understand. Why am I a very caring, compassionate person in this situation for that or this? Why am I a selfish person sometimes? Why do I exhibit greed sometimes? All of these things come to the surface. You cannot run from the real self in the void because the real self will catch up to you. So if you don't want to, don't go there. Stay here on the surface and do all your surface bullshit. You could try to pray it away. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. All right, let's continue. Culturally, it is the negative twin of the sun, the unsun. It is being negated as a symbol of perilous times and observed manifestation, sinister and ominously cruel. Yet the black sun is also seen as otherness. Let's take a closer look at otherness. It is associated with the unknown, the fear that arises from it, And that's what people fear the most. And you know what comes from that? A disease that plagues the planet called ignorance. See, ignorance is a disease that one inherits when they fear the unknown. Because when fear of the unknown kicks in, then people normally result to ignorant explanations to justify and validate it. And ignorance and fear go hand in hand, people. We've seen it. I've seen it. And as I said, ignorance is a disease that plagues the masses on this planet because a lot of people suffer from it. So you fear what you don't know. It's almost a natural instinct that they've programmed into human beings today. Fear what you don't know, or have some ignorant explanation or justification for it. Okay. One is actually forced to go beyond the simple difference of opinions and see into the complexity of darkness and blackness itself. That means the otherness of ourself in the first place. It is a symbol of the selected few. The question then arises, selected by whom, on whose behalf, right? We hear this term, many are called, few are chosen, okay? This can certainly be filled in a will, a deity, fate. From the left-hand path perspective, it is more often is considered to be the individual who selected he or her self, okay? Who utilizes his or her competence to listen to the inner call. So this is the moment that the person has of true spiritual awakening. When they get what is called here, that inner call. As I referred to it earlier as the introductory stage of spiritual enlightenment, right? Where whatever system most of you came from before you came here, you had that moment. Can't do this shit no more. This church shit, this shit's bullshit. This shit is a hustle. This is a bunch of nonsense. They can't answer any of my questions on life and death. They can't answer any questions of how things were created. They can't answer anything that I need to know, that my soul and my spirit needs to know, that I can be in alignment with true knowledge of self. They can't give me those answers. It's time to go somewhere else. That's that calling. We all were called in that introductory stage. This is how we got here. Okay? Because at that moment, you realize there's more to this thing called life. There's more to this thing called death. I'm tired of these motherfuckers spooking me out, instilling fear in me. I'm tired of them programming, telling me what I can and cannot do. The true God is now awakening. That's enough. I had enough of this suppression shit. I had enough of this being a slave to this shit. No more. And that's true spiritual sovereignty, people. Being sovereign on that level is priceless. Can't even put a price on it. That's something when one obtains, it's the greatest gift on this journey that you can inherit as you navigate through this path. Trust me when I tell you. Okay. All right. So the inner call, which is the call from the deep of the authentic original being inside, the ability to do so is a priority inherent in each and every step a dark adept would take. In contrary to what some believe, I do not think the potential of utilizing and feeling it as a leverage force is present within every human being. And that's simply saying this, as we hear the term, it's not for everybody. That's why. It's not. I know a lot of people come on this path, gung-ho. Yeah, this is it, man. You know, I told you, watch out for the ones that are, this is a red flag. And I can tell you, 100% of the time, they'll be gone a year or two, maybe even less. Watch out for the ones that come on so strong when they first come on this path. They're so dark and they're this and they're this and that. And they're so heavy into this and they got to profess to everybody how them motherfuckers be gone. They be the first ones out of here. Trust me when I tell you. Because they fooled themselves. They got caught up in the superficial aesthetic shit of this path. And then when real life shit started to manifest, they ran like little bitches. Oh, no, I ain't know it involved this. Oh man, it's too much for me to deal with. Let me go back and do something that I was comfortable doing. So they go back to being a Muslim, a Christian, a Jew, or whatever it was they were. And I told you, they even wound up going harder than they did the first time around. Okay? This path will scare you back into some shit you used to do. But here's the deep thing. Where are you going to go after being on this path that isn't a step back? Tell me. Where are you going to leave and go, what? Go back to being a Kemetic philosopher? Go back into Santeria or Ifa? Go back being a Muslim, Christian, a Jew, a Buddhist? Go back being a Wiccan? What the fuck are you going to do? This is why you can't play when you get to this point. This is it. When I say this is it, you've opened Pandora's box. You've opened a world of knowledge that is never ending. It's a journey that is lifelong and continues in the next life. You asked for it, you got it. You said you wanted the knowledge. Now you better embrace the shit. Don't get scared now when shit starts to happen that you can't explain. So you want to run back and become a Muslim again. Or you want to run and come back and be holy, sanctified, saved because you got scared. And then you want to come up with some justification for the shit. Okay? As I said before, you come on this path and you leave, it's a step back. I don't give a fuck what it is you're doing. There's nothing. The reason why I say that, real simple, because this path isn't limited to one particular system. It's a path of self-mastery that embodies multiple spiritual practices, okay? Which are just terms. And it opens the doors and the realms to your subjective consciousness to shit you didn't even know exist. So you're going to abandon that and go back to believing in some spook god called the law, who really is nothing but sun worship. That's a whole nother story. Or you're going to sit there and think some heavy metal rock star white guy is going to come flying out of the sky on the clouds in the rapture and wrap you up one day. You're going to go back to that stupid slave mentality. Or you're going to go back to being a traditional Hebrew and wait for the Messiah to come one day. And there are some who believe the Messiah is here and all this nonsense and chaos and stupidity. How is that not a step back? To me, that's more than a step back. That's multiple steps back. Or do you want to be like most of us are, journeying on this path as true spiritual warriors, gods and goddesses, taking hold of our destiny, making choices and decisions based on our needs, not because somebody else is telling us, and taking responsibility for those choices and embracing all aspects of ourselves? I'll take that one before I take the others. Okay? So you can't. You come on this path. Come right. Come sure. Come ready. Because if you're going to come half-assed and think you're going to play what I like to call feetsy, you got your left foot in, your right foot out. You do the hokey. We got a lot of hokey-pokey motherfuckers on this path. You see them one day, they're dark and they got their black on and all their symbols. You see this motherfucker a year later, he's a Buddhist now, right? Because they got scared back into that shit. Scared. Don't be scared. The only thing to fear is yourself and the ignorance that resides in your mind that you created. That is the fuel for that fear, people. That's where it comes from. You'll find this out even more on a deeper level as you navigate through the void. Let's go. Almost done. All right. So many are called, few are chosen. However, especially when considering the associations connecting the black sun with affliction, unease, and desperation, it is also evident that this venture and participation is not always done in free will, at least in most cases initially. It explains why the light side right-hand philosophy mentions that all these negative emotions lead to suffering and so to the dark side. Yet there are many lords over darkness who knew the energy in its black sun qualities as well, who mentioned that the dark side is an illness no true dark sider would wish to be cured from. The initial footsteps on the sovereign path, notice he says sovereign. You're not truly spiritually sovereign until you're on a path of self-mastery. I don't give a fuck what it is you're following, okay? When you label yourself something, I'm an Ifa practitioner. I'm a Muslim, a Christian, a Jew. I study Kemet. That's it? You just study Kemet? That's it? Nothing else? I can. You're still a slave inferior to a system and an ideology that you think is greater than you. Rather than you need to understand you are that system and that system is you. See, the difference of what we do on this path, we're not trying to worship anything. We're trying to embody and become what this knowledge and information is. We're trying to be a living manifestation of that. That's the difference of what we do as opposed to other people trying to seek and find this spook force that is not a reality. Okay? All right. The initial footsteps of the sovereign path may be so illustrious, after all, as the story of Parsival is one we can all really relate to as we all encounter entropic forces that adverses us on our journeys we've embarked upon in order to become something greater. But for those who are to listen and to answer that call, remember, many are called, few are chosen. So you could get the call, but that still don't mean this is a path for you. Some people make that mistake, and maybe they don't know it at the time, and that happens. But many are called, right? It's no different with sports, right? Many get a call to maybe play a sport, but maybe they start to have success at the lower levels, but then when they get to the big time, the pros, they just don't have what it takes. They're not cut out or have what it takes to succeed at the professional level. Look at this the same way. A lot of people are called on this path, right? And they start out and they go through certain levels, and then they get to a point where they're not equipped to hang with the big boys and the big girls. So they go back to doing what they used to do, which is a step back. Okay. All right. But for those who are to listen and to answer that call, a powerful explorer and conqueror opens up the gates, driven by passion and will, right? Your passion is your fuel that gives the fuel to your intent. How much passion and desire and willpower do you have? How much are you determined to master yourself on all those points I talked about in the beginning? Spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially. That should be your goals in life. That's what you should get up every day to strive to do. Master yourself. And I know I do every fucking day. With that first one being the most important, having true knowledge of self. If you have true knowledge of self, everything will fall into place. Trust me when I tell you. 2, you must be in a sound mind. Deal with your bullshit. If you're having mental issues, psychological residue from shit in the past, your upbringing, your childhood, etc., toxic relationship, deal with that shit. You must be in a sound mind in order to master yourself. A lot of people run from that one. That's the tough one there. That's the one people are in denial about. That's the one people try to sweep under the rug. Not if you're going to work with me, you're not. Because you're not going to like me if you work with me then. Because I'm going to pull all of that shit out of you, whether you like it or not. Okay? And either you work your way through it, master it, or you'll wind up just leaving and going somewhere else. 3, emotionally. There's another one people struggle. A lot of motherfuckers are not grounded and able to harness their emotions. Okay? Emotions are a two-edged sword. They could be a great productive thing and a destructive thing. Some people can't control their anger, their rage, their hate, their jealousy. These are emotions that can eat away at you when you can't control them, right? But you can take that emotional energy and harness it for something productive. So you must be able to master your emotions. Another one people struggle with. Physically, be real with yourself about your diet, what you eat. Do you exercise? This is important. It's common sense, but it's not to be judgmental. It's not to judge nobody. But mastering yourself physically is part of this path. I'm not saying be a fucking fanatic. I don't want to get into the diet thing. I've talked about this blood type. Use common sense, right? Stop thinking one diet's going to fix all your problems, because you'd be stupid to think that. Know your blood type. You should have a diet that's conducive to your blood type. don't want to get into all that here because I've talked about it so many times. Motherfuckers reach out because they want to turn being a vegan or some dietary choice into some spiritual path. It's a fucking dietary choice. Is it connected to your spirituality in relation to how it affects it? Yes. But some motherfuckers turn that vegan shit into a religion. Okay? I got news for you to bust your bubble. You're not a true vegan. You're not eating holistic if you're going to fucking Whole Foods and Fresh Market. Because if you think in your mind everything in there is organic, you're fucking dumber than I even thought. Because they still got to put chemicals and preservatives to maintain the shelf life of all the fruits, the vegetables, and all the other shit that they sell in there, just like they got to do in the supermarkets. I literally got motherfuckers thinking, oh, I'm eating at Whole Foods. I get all my shit from Whole Foods. That don't mean you eating whole, motherfucker. It just means you think you are. Because if you ain't growing it from the ground yourself, cultivating the soil, pulling it from the dirt yourself, you're not eating organic. Trust me when I tell you. Okay? I know you like to believe, but you're not. You got other motherfuckers eating seedless watermelon. There's nothing that grows on this planet that doesn't have a seed. That's genetically modified food, people. There's no such thing as seedless grapes or seedless watermelons. That's them using and being able to clone food. If you want to get to, I had a motherfucker eating seedless watermelon from me, thinking he eating healthy. I'm like, how? Show me how seedless watermelon grow. There's no such thing. Okay, anything that doesn't have a seed that's a fruit is genetically modified. Okay, so let's not turn this food. Use common sense. Know your blood type. Make sure you're eating productively. It doesn't mean, and this is why I say don't get fanatical. It doesn't mean we all like certain foods, sugars and junk foods that we shouldn't eat. It just means don't eat it all the time. As I said before, if you like ice cream, I like ice cream. If you like cheesecake or a certain dessert, it doesn't mean you can't have it every now and then. It just means you can't eat it every fucking day. Use common sense of reasoning. So when you're able to indulge, but not to the point where it destroys you. So every now and then you get a little taste for a slice of cheesecake. Have that slice of cheesecake. Indulge and satisfy that desire. But if you're eating cheesecake and fucking Twinkies and Ho-Hos and fucking donuts 6-7 days a week, and you want to know why your health is a fucking mess, then come on, people. That's common sense. So you must master yourself physically. Make sure you're watching your diet. Make sure you're getting sleep and rest. Make sure you're taking whatever supplements you need that's going to help you that you're lacking in. Make sure you're getting that minimum exercise, a minimum of 3-4 times a week. Minimum 30 minutes to an hour. Minimum 3-4 times a week. And look, I'm not saying you got to be in the gym and going hard all the time. If you don't have that, at least you could do walking. Walking is one of the best cardiovascular exercises, and it strengthens your core. So walk at minimum. I don't give a fuck. You ain't got no excuse. After you're done eating, take your lazy ass outside, walk around the neighborhood or whatever, or go get in your car, go to a park, take a walk in the park. Or if you want to go to full length, get in the gym. I told you the greatest thing I did over a year ago was start doing kickboxing. It's the greatest thing I ever did. It's given me so much different energy levels, number one. That's number one. It's going to help with this too. I'm just going to tell you as you get older, it's going to help with that. You need to get that in. It's going to give you energy for that. Even more, it increases testosterone levels. And as older men, we need to make sure our T levels are being maintained, because then it can start to affect you in the bedroom, right? Let's be real. Keep it real. Don't act like don't act like as you get older, you don't see. Maybe you can't go as longer as you get older. I mean, some. Take care of your health. Okay? Don't sit around and you're not eating right, you're not exercising, you're not doing any of these things, and then you wonder why, man. Yes, and your physical health can affect your spiritual work. These could be reasons why you're struggling to meditate. If you're taking in all these artificial foods and processed foods, how do you think that's going to affect your mental clarity? And then you're gonna go eat a bunch of Twinkies and Ho-Hos, and then you're gonna go sit down and meditate, and then you're gonna wonder why you're struggling. I can't concentrate, because all that processed shit your body's trying to process. Do you know the amount of energy it takes your body to go through a full digestive process cycle? A lot. So if that's going on and then you're struggling, it can create a lot of conflict. And then the last one, financially. We all should be striving to get up every day and opening up channels of income and opportunities of how we can be successful to the best of our ability. As I said, this path, you should not be on this path and be broke. This is not a path for unsuccessful broke people. I know life deals us circumstances, but we should be striving to be successful. Okay? We should be striving to get our credit together. We should be striving to be owners. Not judging anybody. We should be striving to be have ownership of our own property, our livelihood, where we live. I'm not knocking anybody that rents. I rented. I've been there. I did it for years. I'm saying ownership in every aspect of our financial life. Generational wealth, long-term financial goals, plans and strategies. What are you leaving here when you leave if you have children? What are you leaving them? What generational wealth are you manifesting? Do you have any type of investments? So this is shit, again, nobody really wants to talk about, because somehow over the years in a lot of paths of awakening and consciousness, almost being broke is a badge of honor. Them days is over. We ain't supposed to be broke. All right? All right. The black sun might display an entropic quality in itself. However, it is the entire evolution that used entropy as a means to overcome and grow resistant to outside force that made the entire world exist as we know it. The entire evolutionary system is built on the indisputable fact that we need to overcome resistance in order to become stronger and better. Okay. What else we got here? Hold on. Wow. Oh, we'll talk about that one next. All right. I want to talk a little bit. Let's see. Let's see if we got some questions. Maybe I'll pause here and take a few questions. The next section, black sun and entropy. I want to get into the dark gate of radiance. And these are all concepts in understanding and mastering the black sun, right? Now, all of this, in essence, is linked to what we call demonic integration work. What is demonic integration? I know you hear that word for those that may not to those that are on the path. This is where they get the word demon from, D-E-M-O-N. Daemon goes back to Hermeticism. You'll see it listed as the agathodaemon, right? We shorten it and say the daemon, D-A-E-M-O-N, which is the real self, the high, the truest self. It's known in Hermeticism as the genius self, right? In practicing Hermetic philosophy and Heka, Egyptian magic, that is the core practice. The root of it is to master and integrate and connect with the true or demonic self. So this is everything we're discussing here is the core work of what demonic integration work is. So now you see, when you hear that term, demonic integration work, what is it? Now you know. There's a strong connection to the black sun, right? Because it's taking that journey and navigating to connect with the essential self as you go through the void. Okay? All right, see what we got here. All right, infernal blessings and greetings to everybody. If I didn't greet you in the beginning, get the likes up. Don't forget to hit the like button. Please hit the like button. Get this video algorithm going. Get it across more as many people as it can reach. So definitely hit the like button. We're live on 3 platforms right now. We're live on Primordial Chaos Facebook, 2 words. We're live on Primordial Chaos 9, 1 word, on Instagram, and right here on YouTube, Primordial Chaos. And again, don't forget to check out the Patreon page, the official Primordial Chaos Patreon page. See the information going right there on the bottom. Patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. I encourage you to check out Tier 3. That's where I do 3 private classes a month on Patreon and 1 group ritual every month. And that's Tier 3. That's the best way. People always reach out. How can I get in your classes? What kind of classes you do, this and that. That's where you want to go and take a look. There's tons of shit on there. Trust me when I tell you. I probably got more content on there than most people you're going to come across. And I say that out of confidence, not arrogance. And there's nothing I don't talk about. Trust me when I tell you. Those have been around, you know. So check it out, patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, tier 3. Tier 3 is the way you want to go. All right, let's see what we got. Let's see if we got some questions on the Black Sun. What you guys thinking about what we're talking about this evening? All right, let's see. Xander, okay, just Bree. I see Bree's in here. I was talking with her earlier. She's now in the mentorship program. Kadane, what's going on? You back? We got to send me an email. I think you sent me an email. If I missed it, I know we got to set our call up. If you are here and still listening, send me the email if I missed it. I know you were gone for a couple of weeks. We got to set that up ASAP. Mika's in here. Logan. All right. Questions, people. Papa Naga. Yeah, peace to the true and living gods. 100%. Mad respect for the 5% Nation. That was one of my earlier foundations. I know this may not all be in alignment with that. I've done occult videos from a perspective of the 120, from an occult perspective. And again, I address with all due respect in there. This was my viewpoint. I'm not speaking or was not speaking for anybody in the nation, but I believe Father Allah, whether we looked at it like that or not, was dealing with serious esoterical breakdowns of a lot of things. But that's another thing. No Face Deviation. We're going to be doing that show soon, the Hip Hop Occult show. So I'll be reaching out to you soon with the time and the date. I just got to get with Brother Taja. I don't know if he's here. I don't know if he's in here tonight. I don't see him. That'll be very soon. So I'll get you a date and time. I got you written down for that. So we're going to have No Face Deviation. Check his YouTube page out. He does occult hip hop music. It's some good stuff. If you really want to hear some stuff in alignment with this path, very creative. It's different. You're not going to hear shit that you hear, just common shit. If you want some real well-made, crafted occult hip-hop music, just Google his Facebook. Not his Facebook. I know he's got a YouTube page. Not sure if you are on any of those other platforms, brother. Put that on in the chat so people can check your stuff out. We're going to have him on the next our next hip-hop occult show in the next week or two. That'll be coming up soon. So definitely going to reach out to you, brother, for that. I know we got Brother Duma Ken Rez in the building. If you're looking for some good occult jewelry, he's done some pieces for me in the past. Inbox him. And if you want to inquire about what he does, reach out to him. He does good work. He's made a couple pieces for me. I know he's done some pieces for you guys. If you're looking, I know he can do Baphomets. He can do sigils. Just reach out to him. I try to do this once in a while, give shout out to people that offer services to what we do. What else we got? So Papa Naga has a question here. So what made some of us as children go back and watch Scary Movie after being afraid? Excellent fucking question. That was the real you going back, because here's the crazy shit. I'm glad you bring that up, because I meant to address that when I was talking about the Scary Movie thing. Think about this, something that scared the shit out of you. That was not the weak Monday in you that was scared and frightened, the one that was running. What was making you go back was the true you, to show you really what you're thinking was scary, like you needed to go back. Something was fascinating about it. You needed to see it again to get more clarity on it. So that was you wrestling with the lower and the weaker self, right? Or as we say, that was the set Heru of your nature trying to suppress the Heru, or the weaker side of your nature. And that's an excellent point, confirming that was another aspect of the real you trying to emerge. It's not that it was bizarre. Why would I want to go back and look at something that was frightening as a kid? Because even as a kid, even maybe being that young and not being in the full know-how, and maybe at that time you're being a little puzzled as why I would want to go back and look at something that was frightening, because you got to remember that being that resides inside you is ancient. It has no beginning of days, no ending, right? It's an ancient soul. So it was trying to take you back to show you something, but we would fight it because there was a part of us that wanted to go back and see it again or do it again. But then the weaker part of the self was afraid. It was in fear. It was saying, no, don't do that. Don't watch that. Don't. So more confirmation of this internal battle, right? And that's part of this path. The struggle between the higher self and the lower self. To very mundane things like getting up in the morning and opening your closet and looking in there. And sometimes there's some days we get up, poof, we know what we want to wear. Boom, boom, boom. How many of us have opened the closet and sat there for about 5-10 minutes? Man, wear that shirt there. I don't know if I want to wear that. I know I do this shit all. Oh, them sneakers don't go with the damn. Man, if I wear that shirt there, I got to wear those sneakers there. Oh, I don't want to wear those sneakers today. Oh, man, but if I wear that hat right there, that hat would go with that. It's your will. What they're calling the battle of willpower is the internal war between the lower and the weaker self. So in a case like that, same thing with the movie. That was your higher self saying, come on, come back. Explore this further. Let me show you something. It's not what you think. The lower self is scared as shit. Like, nah, I don't want to do it. Now, you either wrestled with yourself, you went back, you did, or you didn't. Sometimes it was a combination of both. But that's an excellent question. More confirmation of that essential self or true self trying to emerge, right? Yeah, Freddie and Jason, the Freddie and the Jason, now the Michael Myers shit, I see me, I like the classic horror movies. I know it's cool now with all the, special effects and AI, but a movie like a horror movie with too much special effects and AI, it just becomes too Hollywood to me. It doesn't, none of them movies frighten me like, all these movies, all the modern ones, but the old school joints, like the first two Halloweens were classic. Right, first one like I mean, it got a little bizarre later, but and then a good soundtrack, right? The Halloween soundtrack is bomb. I could actually listen to that. I do meditations to the Halloween soundtrack. That shit is the soundtrack to the first two Halloween movies. Yeah, the Freddy and then the Freddy shit got out of hand, and the Jason movies and all that. But The Exorcist, as you mentioned, I see there in that chat by Hollow Gator, that Exorcist will fuck you up as a kid, because there was a human nature and a supernatural nature connected to it at the same time. But it wasn't to the point that it was so far-fetched. Now, it probably on myself had a bigger impact because at that age, we were being brought up as children as Catholics. And we grew up in the Catholic Church. And from elementary school, almost up until 8th grade, all my sisters but me, I got kicked out in 8th grade. We went to Catholic school. So we grew up in a Catholic environment. So watching that movie being Catholic or / Christian was very impactful because it covered the taboo side. And it instilled that fear concept of everything we were being taught, like per se in the church, right? So a movie like that can impact you on a psychological, mental, and emotional levels. And a good movie creates movies for that purpose, right? And that movie was well put together. And it's based on the deity Pazuzu, if you've watched the whole trilogy, because they claim, when you watch the movie, you find this out later, that the priest finds, and they show this more in Exorcist 2, the heretic, in Exorcist 3. They explore Pazuzu further, that was the demon that was possessing, who so-called was possessing Linda Blair. But then they add more to the story in the trilogy. So it's really about Pazuzu, who, when you go into Eastern mysticism and Eastern left-hand path occult, dealing with Ahriman, any of those systems, Shaitan, Iblis, Pazuzu, all of those beings of the Far East that are masks of the adversary, they show you that in the movie. It's crazy. All right. Yeah, that bed scene, that's probably the only scene that ever, I've watched a lot of horror movies. And like I say, the newer ones are just more entertaining. I don't get nothing out of them. But that's the one scene that always stands out for whatever reason. I can remember multiple times watching the movie, going to sleep, my mind playing trick. I convinced myself that the bed was shaking. I literally did that shit. And I reflect back on it now, how funny and stupidity that shit is. But yeah, I mean, it was an impactful scene, no doubt. Yeah, the voices in the head, the bed covers move, all these things. The question we need to ask ourselves: how did we, at such an early age, we immediately identified that with some type of fear? So it was there at a very early age. See, that's the thing we got to look at. The question is, how did it get there? Right? We got an idea, but think about one of the first moments you spooked yourself out in a dark room, whether it was laying in your room at night as a child, thinking you saw some type of shadow or figure in the corner of the room, and then you realize how stupid you were. It was a toy or your jag or whatever the fuck it was. It goes to show you that that fear and indoctrination has been there at a very early age. It's programmed into us, literally. Okay, it's the only way we'd be able to tap into it at early age. Look, it's the same thing I say to people. I say, does God, the monotheistic God, really exist? And people go, what do you mean? Think about this too when you were a young child. You were birthed into the world physically, you came through the womb of your mother, okay? Until you became of age where somebody introduced the concept of God to you. Did you or did you not know God existed? You would have to be honest and say you didn't really know God existed until somebody sat you down and told you, whether it was your mother, your father, an auntie, an uncle, a pastor, a priest, or whatever. At some point, you became of age where somebody introduced the God concept to you. So the question is, did God exist before the God concept was introduced to you? Yes or no? Be careful how you answer that question. No, in the sense that you were not aware. Yes, in the sense because you are God. Okay? People never finish the second part of that. Okay? But that God that they introduced to you when you became of age never ever existed. He only existed when you embraced it as a reality. So at that point, when it's forced upon you and you accept it and you embrace the whole ideology, then it becomes real. Just like anything else in life, it becomes real to you. You, even though it's not factually real, but once you embrace it as real, it becomes real to you. And that's where the programming starts to become, even stronger. Okay. What else we got? Hand, yeah, hand covering the eyes. Why? And think about this. What makes you think when you were a kid and you feel getting under the covers was going to protect you? Man, when you just think back on some stuff, man, as maybe as simple as you thought it was, you start to look back on certain things and you go, damn, I never looked at it like that. That's why. All right, what else we got? Yeah, the hokey pokey. You always thought the hokey pokey was a satanic ritual when I was youngster. Now I call it, I call it straddling the fence. I like to use the hokey pokey term as for those who are on this path but straddle the fence. Right? You can't do that on this path because this path, it'll catch up to you. I'm talking about the people that want to play a cult. Okay. And as I said before, this is a way of life. This is a commitment. Right? And you got to have thick skin to be on this path. You can't worry about what people think because it's a non-conventional, non-conformist path. It's not in alignment with mainstream schools of spiritual thought. And that's one of the attributes you must possess on this path, not to worry and care about what somebody thinks. Okay. That's a tough one for people because most people, not all, most people want to get in where they fit in. They want to be down with the in crowd and do what everybody else is doing. They want to be part of the clique. This path is the complete opposite. You ain't trying to be down with what everybody else is doing. You're not interested in being part of the clique. And you're not worried about or concerned or give two flying shits about if somebody likes or dislikes what you're doing and who you are. It's irrelevant. So the hokey pokey, do the hokey pokey, and left foot in. We got a lot of left foot in and your right foot. We got a lot of those motherfuckers. They exist. They exist. Okay. What else we got? Yeah, the organic food thing. Good point, Holloway. Yeah, because but this is how easy people are programmed. Because they go into a place like Whole Foods and, like you say, it's stamped organic. Listen, in order for anything to be transported through channels of transportation, I'm telling you this, that's my profession. I know all about transportation and logistics. It's what my company does. It's what I do for a living. Okay. I know all about the process. Ain't nothing you can't tell me about hazmat, refrigeration, transporting goods. There's nothing you're going to, I'm telling you for a fact, 100% for a fact. Okay. You can believe that shit if you want. Even the meat. Other people, well, the meat's organic. Well, you saw that thing that came out about a year and a half, 2 years ago. That Whole Food was guilty of importing shit from places like China and non-organic meats and other types of crazy shit that was going on. Like I said, if you got your own garden, you growing your own food, and or you got your own, you're raising your own livestock, and you are, raising your own chickens and things of that nature, then you're eating organic. Okay, that's eating truly organic. But just because you go to Whole Foods and buy shit like you say that's in a package stamped organic or product, it's just. I mean, look, I've had like heated arguments with people about this shit, and they get all hot. No. I say, listen. What you eating really isn't much different than really what they're getting in the supermarkets. It might be maintained a little bit better, but trust me, that's not eating, 100% organic. Okay. Now what else we got? Creative Soul asks, good question. Is the black sun at all related to Amun-Ra? It goes deeper than that. Yes, from the Egyptian pantheon, when we look at this. Now the black, because remember, it's an invisible sun, right? When we talk about the spiritual aspect, and it's the black, and I connect it also to the black flame or the black sun that resides within. I've talked about this before in relationship to Amun-Ra. The mystery of it goes into the triad of Ra, right? And what do I mean by that? We all know the three aspects of the triad of Ra known as Atum-Re, Amun-Re, okay? And Amun-Re, Atum-Re, and Atun-Re with an N on the end of it, right? One represents the sun coming over the horizon. The other, Atun, represents the sun at its zenith or at the highest point in the day or the day hours. And then the hidden sun when it sets. So 3 points symbolically of the rising, the sun at its highest zenith, and its setting. But there's another aspect of Ra or Re called Aknun Re, A-N-U-N, and it's the hidden sun. And what it represents when we talk about that process of the sun. Now let's be clear on this. We know the sun never sets or rises, right? That's a symbolic term. We know the earth revolves around its axis, takes 23 hours, 56 minutes for one full rotation. For those, depending on where you're at, and you're in evening hours, it's just the earth has turned on its axis where that side of the planet you're on in that rotation is being blocked out, creating the illusion that it's dark, right? Because the sun never goes anywhere. So when you're going outside and you're seeing darkness, it's not really dark. It's just you're on the other side the shadow side, right? So as the earth makes its turn, it creates the illusion because the earth wobbles on its axis. It creates the illusion that the sun is rising and setting depending on the wobble. So when you're seeing it come over the horizon, it's an illusion. But here's the deep thing. When the sun rises or sets, from the moment it rises and or sets, from the moment it goes from darkness to light, that's a representation of the invisible sun, or the aspect of Ra or Re that they don't talk about, because that's the manifestation of Ra or Re on what some would call the spiritual realm, the etheric realm, which exists outside of person, place, or thing. It's beyond three-dimensional consciousness. That representation of that moment in a blink of an eye is that manifestation of that invisible sun. Okay, so there is a connection to Ra or Re. Now it goes even deeper when you get into Kepara, right? We use this term on the occult or the left-hand path, Kepara, right? And Kepara also is affiliated with the sun god Ra, and it's also affiliated with the scarab beetle. Why the scarab beetle? Okay, you all seen depictions in hieroglyphics and on the temples and on the walls in Egypt of Kepara with the scarab beetle, the wings of the sun, the solar disk, right? This all is a true, which ties into what we were talking about here, the black sun, which is all about connecting with the essential self or the real you. It's a manifestation of the real you. So on the occult or the left-hand path, we use that symbol because the scarab beetle, and why the scarab is connected with Kepara and the sun, because it represents remanifestation, right? And we know the scarab beetle rolls its own dung. It can procreate on its own. And all of the aspects, when you understand scientifically what the scarab beetle is and why it's used as a symbol, it represents remanifestation on its highest level. So when you see that scarab, and as I've explained before, I attribute that scarab because when we look at that scarab, we look at Kepara, and we look at that sun, it should represent to us that that's what we're trying to do on this path, is remanifest ourselves into what? To who we really are, not who we think we are. And this is why on my altar at the feet of Set, I have a scarab beetle I keep there. I have a nice scarab sculpture. I keep it at the feet of Set. And Set sits on his throne. I have a couple images of Set, but he sits on his throne right below my black flame. So I have Set sitting on his throne. I have the black flame and a skull behind him, and then I have the scarab at his feet. So every time I look at that and I look at Set, it represents making order out of my own chaos, and that scarab represents self-mastery, remanifesting myself into who I really am. And I tap into that consciousness and that energy just by simply sitting at my altar and gazing upon that and going into meditation. And now, because we did work with Set this past month, I'm keeping those carnelian stones there. And what that, because I tapped into a lot of power with those carnelian stones over the month. It was going to be a temporary thing, but it's a permanent thing now because I use them now. So when I do my invocation to Set, I take 2 large carnelian stones and I hold them in each hand and I close my hands and I put my hands up like this, which forms a trident, which represents the trident of Lucifer. And I say my invocation. I go into my personal stuff and I'm absorbing the energy because Set has charged those carnelian stones up with a harmonizing force that instills within me to make order out of my chaos. It creates a frequency and an energy that permeates through every aspect of my being. So this monthly work has led me to a greater understanding of how to use those carnelian stones as a tool of sorcery and magic. And it's very effective. And now I've been doing it since I started the month. I've continued it the first 3 days of this month, and I will continue doing it. So that was, something that I was able to take even further. But that scarab, that black sun, there's a connection with that with Ra and in ancient Egypt. That's a good question. The book is Black Imperium Sun. Okay, that's the book if you came late. All right. I don't know the altar, but if you Google it, it comes right up. Black Sun Imperium, bringing forth the Gnosis of the ancient sun. But if you just Google Black Sun Imperium, it comes right up. Okay. Shamafia, I'll be honest with you, I don't know that song fully, so I can't say. I don't want to. I have to go listen to it to answer that question. It could. Not sure. Okay. No Face Deviation says, oh yeah, okay. So yeah, we're definitely going to reach out to you for that show. 100%. Yeah, I know, Papa. Now you got the you did get that Santa Muerte statue from Roma. Good. Yeah, Rob Zombie's version of Halloween was pretty decent. I did see that. He kind of kept some of the traditional. You got to understand, when the movies came out in the 80s, it was, the plot lines were a little cheesy but he redid it pretty good. I do like the way, especially the way he did the second one, the hospital scene. He captured. I think he built upon the original pretty good. All right, what else we got? Logan Scott asks, can the black sun be associated with any of the spears on the day side or night side of the tree? Most definitely, right? More so on the night side of the tree, because it deals with serious levels of awakening of deep aspects of the subconscious mind. It could be associated with the tree of death, death as itself, even on the Kabbalistic tree, certain aspects. But more so when we're dealing with the clip or the clip pop, Gagael, or when we enter the dark throne in that last ritual we did with Beelzebub, because that's entering a gate to another. Anytime you're going through a cliff, for an example, that would be dealing with a state of awakening of the psyche and the subconscious mind, would be connection to that black sun, because that's all part of connecting with the the genuine or the real self, or awakening the true essential self. All of that is connected. So most definitely 100% yes. Yeah, it's funny you say that. So everybody has their own memory. You know what? It's funny. I can't quite pinpoint when I first came to the realization of being conscious of any religion or God or anything of that nature. I can only attribute it to a certain time period when I can probably say I became aware. But it's funny. It's funny that you're able to pinpoint it. Well, it's not that it's funny. It's good that you're able to pinpoint it pretty spot on. So it's good. There's something there you might be able to grab from that, right? Something there in that moment that started a process, maybe not a positive one, but something you can go back and maybe dig deeper on. But that's pretty good that you're able to remember that. So Papa Naga says, would you agree that fear was pre-programmed from the mother? So how must we go into the shadows to conquer our demons? I mean, that's a tough one. Reason why I say that's a tough one. I wouldn't say all of the time. I would say yes, a large part. You're probably 100% right. It's you more than likely where it comes from, because that was something instilled and programmed in them that was passed down to us. So in the sense, not that it obviously we know it wasn't intentional or that was the intentional point of it. But how you go back into the shadow is by changing the narrative, right? To break the cycle of something. So when we're brought up in a system of indoctrination, for an example, the way you change that, the best way not just to do it on a superficial level, for an example, but you must also do it on a mundane level. So, for an example, we break that cycle when we're educating and teaching our children right from the get-go, right? Not that they're not going to still deal with obstacles and challenges in the world, but you're breaking that aspect of the system of programming. Now, as far as going back, like people prior to us that came, say the mother or those that came before us, right? That's a whole different process, right? Some of them may not become to the realization of that until it's their time to transition. But you can go back as far as like say an ancestral work, and that's part of what we call healing ancestral trauma. So you can include that type of repair or healing work in your connection with your ancestral work. That's one way to go back through meditations. You create visualization and rituals where you connect with that individual if they've transitioned on, and send that communication. So there's a multitude of methods that can be done, but the cycle and the change has to be broken also here on the mundane, right? We can change the narrative because now we know. So if we have the ability to pass it on to our own children, or we have access to children we can affect, we can change that narrative. Okay. So yes, when you go into the shadows or the deep aspects of your subconscious mind, you got to first do it for yourself, right? And in doing it for yourself, that would also be changing it for the mother too, right? Because you've reversed a trend or a cycle that was originally put upon you that was connected to that individual. So that has transformative, changing energy, especially if the mother per se or this individual has transitioned off. So there's a variety of ways it can be done. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny too. That's a funny thing kids do. They cover their eyes when they're little and they think you can't see them. All right. See, you put here part two, correct program from the drama within the mother to out the womb. Yeah, I mean that's still all connects. You still would have to go back in those various. I mean, it's a process. It's not like one specific thing. Obviously, you could do that's going to fix all that, right? Because even when you're in the womb, there is a pre-programming before you even birth. Because think about this: they say when a child is in the womb of the mother, they can tap into the energy and the feelings of the mother while in the womb. So, yes, a lot of that programming can be passed in the womb even before they emerge from the womb. That's how deep this programming can be. Okay? So, changing it obviously starts with the mindset, right? And then changing that cycle when you have the ability to affect it in the now, right? But yes, I mean, as I said earlier, we can't really technically blame them because a lot of that was put upon them, put upon their mothers and their mothers' mothers. But yes, the child can sense and tap into that energy while in the womb. So yeah, there is preparation for that pre-program going on there. But any of those methods can be used to address that. Yeah, have you ever seen that movie? You mentioned a movie with Charlton Heston, Soylent Green. Go watch that shit. If nobody's ever seen that movie. Yeah, I got a question for you. Do you really think there's enough of land to bury bodies? Think about that for a second. I'll leave that as food for thought. Think about that for a second. A lot of, and go see Soylent Green if you haven't seen it. You'll understand better. That's an old school movie. Was it Charlton Heston was in it? I can't remember. I thought it was Charlton. I could be wrong. A lot of conscious community folks, this is Logan Scott, talk about generational curses and breaking them. Can you talk about what that actually looks like here versus asking the lighter path deities to fix you and your issues, right? Yeah, there is some truth to that, right? Now, I don't like to promote it and make it when they say generational curses, I don't like to promote it and make it because then it makes it sound like you're hopeless to it, you're a victim to it, and there's really no way to deal with it. Okay. Again, step one is it takes applying real life practices and methods in the now, right? So depending on, you can inherit certain characteristics, certain things maybe that were done in the past that's passed down through your genealogy. And sometimes one of your purposes and reasons being here is for you to repair that genealogy line. And we talked about that in one of the shadow work classes. So let's just say, for an example, let's just say we all have ancestors that could have been winos, they could have been drug addicts, they could have done something where maybe they were child abusers, etc. Some could even be to the extent where they were murderers, they were killers, right? Now, it's not passed on to you in the sense that you're cursed because of what they did. I know some people make it sound like that. That's not what it means. Healing, when you talk about breaking generational curses of not inheriting those characteristics and behaviors, right? What one can tend to do, one, I showed people in the Patreon class how, when you're doing your ancestral work, you include connecting with those certain individuals and addressing those issues specifically, right? Now, when you talk about a generational curse, right? That what I just described now is more along the lines of repairing or ancestral healing, trying to heal people of a lot of your ancestors that had issues and things they were struggling with when they were here. Now, the whole thing of being cursed or at the mercy of something that your ancestors did, I don't know if I buy into that on that level. I think that's a little superstitious. It can't 100% be proven. Now, I know you can inherit some of the personality characteristics of your ancestors, which can incite some of the thoughts that might be connected to them on that level. But that's where doing work with yourself comes in. So as you're doing all that work and getting self right, you're also getting those that preceded you right. So I don't really address it. I'm not really buying into the whole fact that you could be cursed or all this terrible shit could be happening to you because of something your ancestors did. That would negate everything what the path of self-mastery is about. If you are aware of the history of your ancestors and say it's not a productive one, say it's a toxic one, our approach to repairing that is you are the solution. You are the answer. You get your shit together and everything that proceeds from you is in alignment of what you did. Now you've broken the chain, you've broken the cycle, you've repaired and you corrected it. So it depends. That concept just depends on the perspective the person's coming from. But I don't look at it like you're being cursed, and you're at the mercy of things happening in your life that you have no control because of something your ancestors did. I don't know if I buy that, but I know that's how some of them talk about it on that level. Yes, Amun Ra is understanding the mysteries of Ra or Ray it's a lot, you know. Um, but even when you look into the manifestation of Ray Harakati, that's Heru Horus resurrected as the sun, a self-perfected being. That's what Ray or Ra Harakati represents. That's after Horus went through everything he went through, after the battles with Set, he went through his journey, his trials and tribulations, and he resurrected as the sun god. And you'll see those images of him, and he's referred to as Ray Harakati, another manifestation of Ra or Ray. Yes, and that's true. I'm glad you put that in there, Logan Scott. Greenwashing, and that's exactly what it's called. There has to be a certain levels, and again, who measures and gauges? So what you're saying is 100%. They can put certain preservatives, sprays, and chemicals in there to preserve the shelf life as long as it stays within the FDA regulated limits of what's considered organic. It's still considered organic. But that's what I was trying to tell one person I was having a debate with this a little while back. It's not organic. Anything that needs to be preserved for shelf life has some type of chemicals, sprays, green, call whatever you want to preserve it. That's just common sense. But some people you can't tell that. Okay. And that's the other thing. Why do people think if they go to Whole Foods because the price is jacked up and it's expensive, they automatically attribute that it's better, it's cleaner? What are you basing that on? Again, it shows how easy it is to program somebody. Yes, that trauma and that program can be inherited before birth. Xander promoted even further on Papa Naga's question. Yes, because it's a known fact. They in the medical field and pregnancy, they state the child can. This is why they say it's very important for a woman to be in a right state of mind. That's why they say sing to the child, play music while it's in the womb, because the child can tap into all that. So yes, the child has the ability to tap into the emotions. The child has the ability to tap into those frequencies that the mother is feeling. So that programming, yes, can start in the womb. And this is why I say the programming is deep. It goes that far back, right? So we have to be aware of that. And this is why we change that cycle, because now when we bring our children here, we're going to take a different route, a different process, right? Yes, butane is used also in those preservatives. Yeah, people believe what you gave. I mean, there's just that notion that no matter if I'm paying more money, that automatically means. Now, in some cases, yes, it's true. I do believe in a lot of cases you do get what you paid for. This is a little special case because we're talking about food. I do believe in retail and certain quality of products, whether it's clothing, electronics, automobiles. Yes, you get what you pay for the most part in those areas of when you're talking about buying something or purchasing something. But there could be some areas where people mark shit up to death and doesn't meet the value, or it doesn't deliver what's promised, is what I should say. But yeah, certain people you can't tell shit. You just can't tell them nothing. They're gonna want to believe that shit in their mind. All right. One more thing I want to get into. I don't see anything else there, but I want to talk a little bit about the black sun and entropy. Let's talk a little bit about this. Let's see how much I can get into this time-wise. Okay. In order to understand what entropy is and how it works and how you can put it to use, we first have to encounter this subject from a scientific perspective before we can integrate this knowledge and apply it in our daily dark side life. Entropy is energy unavailable to do work. It is not a force in physics, but it is a measurement of something acting on energy or / matter. As a force, it is the force that drives all particles to higher states of disorder and lower mean temperatures. It is the force that jerks photons to the speed of light. Useless energy tends to come in photon form. In stars, gravity constantly pulls inward, creating high friction by transforming matter into energy. Entropy drives this energy outward and converts it into electromagnetic radiation, photons. Now, while you can see quarks, photons, electrons, you cannot see entropy. It is hidden. Dark is our word for it, and darkness connects directly to the black flame, which is the inspiring urge. So now we're seeing the connection to the black flame and the black sun. Okay. This very nature of the dark side of this energy is essentially driven by purpose. Remind this well as we came back to this purposefulness in this chapter, the abysmal bridge, which force acts on humans or sentient beings when they urge. The dark side of this force, it's a motivator. Entropy is everywhere. Though it doesn't take on all other forces to be everywhere for things to happen in the cosmos, entropy is always there, hidden, doing its thing. Okay? We tend to see entropy as gravity as one and the same, opposites at first glance. Something blows through what we call the closed gate, and space itself expands faster than the gravity caused by mass in galaxies can stop it. What will they call this when they discover it? Dark force. Something blows through the partially open gate and causes time to flow one way only, and this is what makes entropy also increase all the time. The increase of entropy can be measured, but what about what's behind it? What is making space expand and time go one way? How can mundane earthly science know such things? Well, the dark side doctrine speaks of this. Galaxies go bang and crunch due to supermassive black holes that cause their creation or their destruction and keep them spinning. What's inside a black hole? This very month, while I'm adding the finishing touches on this book, science has come up with proof that the black hole is real, confirming Einstein's theory at last. We can see and understand how entropy as a force, it's a matter of context. Entropy interacts with particles in that force's deterioration. It rips matter apart and drains it of every bit of energy. It is the force out there that pulls everything in here out there. And this is essentially what a black hole is. It is sucking or drawing through entropy, drives kinetic energy to zero, and converts potential energy into kinetic energy. It disperses and pushes outward in the context in which we currently view the universe. Gravity increases kinetic energy by accelerating particles, and it converts kinetic energy back into potential energy through collisions. Why give so much credit to entropy? For one, it is the urge that perpetuates the existence of the universe, and it makes you exist. That's why. Okay? Without entropy, there would be no evolution, no beauty, no order. The chaotic forces of nature constantly rearrange and redistribute matter, cooling the universe and allowing complicated crystals to form. Sapiens are among these. So now we're talking about what I call, and I've been saying for years, cyclical time, cycles, and how this process works of existence. So what you're getting here is the understanding of how, I know it's going to sound crazy, of how existence comes into being. Okay? And all of these things that are connected to it. And sapiens or humans, we're part of that cycle or process. So sometimes we like to separate ourselves from it as if it's two different things. And it's really not. Okay? I know sometimes it's explained like there's the creation of humans, and then there's the creation of nature. It's really all the same thing when you look at it from this perspective. Okay? It's connected. Okay? We think we are orderly because we're superficially symmetrical and complicated. However, the entire evolution process that created us relied on genetic mutations and disorder. Okay? So you think what this is here, us in this physical form, right? This is nothing but a genetic mutation of this entropy, if that makes sense to you. And this is why we say, well, this is the illusionary stuff. This isn't real. This physical shell that you're seeing. This is just basically a mutated aspect that really is not what you think it is. Okay. And as it says, it's constantly rearranging and redistributing matter, cooling the universe, allowing complicated crystals to form, and sapiens are among these. Then it goes on again, genetic mutations and disorder. DNA evolved in order to sustain multicellular organisms through error correction, because while mutation may be good in each generation, the individual cells of the structure should all be identical in order to correctly function together. DNA also paved the way for sexual reproduction, yet many viruses favor RNA because they are not multicellular. Each virus is a single strand of RNA with a protein coding, yRNA. It allows more room for error and mutation. So they work off of the RNA, not the DNA. Viruses reproduce by the millions, so there's plenty to work with. What's the point? Without disorder, there would be none of what we call order. Evolution would have stopped at perfectly replicating single-celled molecule if it were driven by perfection. Entropy is why it didn't, and it's why you are here. Every time you fall or fail at something, know that it is priceless. Chaos is up. Sophistication level is up, combined with the second and third law of thermodynamics. It pushes life forward. So what is the role of the Dark Lords here in here of our initiates and pupils that like that walk amid the great variety of species and carry fire in their hands, the urge to create, hence creating more creative and personal freedom. Because of these laws, because of the being prone to increase more and more as time passes, and more chaotic, complex, or sophisticated molecules will appear, and life itself will become more sophisticated, evolve. The law of revolution and evolution is red, fiery, and deadly. Okay. But this death means the birth of a new life, a new star. The law of entropy is cold, ice blue, like the icy interplanetary infinities, sun age into planets. Okay. And let me you get the science part. Let me scroll down here and finish with this. If those of the dark side have ever wondered why their lives, this is important, said this to get to this point. Let me again repeat. If those of the dark side have ever wondered why their lives were never running on the smooth track and were ordained to bear more turbulence and chaos than others, here is the reason why. This is our lives. This is an ongoing process. When turmoil does not occur for a longer period of time, darksiders should be concerned and make an effort to create new grounds to toil through a new phase. Honor the soil of your soul. There is nothing in the darksiders' existence which they cannot handle or find a solution to. See that? So regardless of whatever shit you might be going through, regardless of how complicated you might see shit is, or how hopeless, or you might think you just don't have the ability to handle it, that's not true because of everything described there. Okay? You have the ability to find a solution to those things that you are dealing with. Okay? Be diligent in your efforts, but we have to move and labor to perfect ourselves as evolution goes on. If not, we soon would be outdated. Do not allow your world to lull you into sleep, for this sleep means death and oblivion. Apathy is death. Use this force to create and strengthen your identity. The code of passion, entropy, and shadows is deeper in more ways than you know. It is not just a couple of sentences that we force out to look fancy among one another. Without a proper awareness of it, you will stagnate and become inert, wondering why you haven't gotten anything greater yet. Okay? So I mean, that says a lot. That should explain a lot. Okay. We have to, we have to start thinking along the lines. And I know it's tough when you got a lot of shit going on in your life. And sometimes you can get so overwhelmed when there's a lot of quote unquote negative shit and you feel hopeless. You feel like nothing's working. I'm sorry. Or you feel like every time you set out to try to do something, it always gets destroyed or shot down. Or you just feel like everything's caving in on you from all sides, right? That's when you really got to focus in and zone in on your power, because you do have the solutions. You may not feel like it, you may not think like it, or think at the time that you do, but you do. Okay. But once you take on or embrace the energy of hopelessness and despair, you're done. Okay. You're pretty much going to be a victim to that because you embraced it. Okay. So always remember that. Focus on it, meditate on it. You always have the solution to things you need answers to that you're struggling with. When you need to make order out of things, or you need to repair things, or get things going in the right track. This is what this is essentially saying. You have that ability. It's just you lost it through all this programming and indoctrination. All right, I'm going to stop there. I don't know if anybody else has any other questions. That's kind of what I wanted to go over. So hopefully this gives you a better understanding of the Black Sun and signs of spiritual awakening. And some last things I want to throw out there on the signs of spiritual awakening. Okay. And this is something we need to look at, because this is something I wanted to touch on, because I wanted to, that was one of the first things I said in the beginning. So what are some signs that you start to sense that you're spiritually awake? Because people always ask this. How do I know? How do I know things is working, et cetera, et cetera? Okay. As I said earlier, one, you become aware that there's more to life than you previously realized, right? You have a greater sense of wanting to live life, right? You start to appreciate life more on a higher level, okay? That's how you know. That's a sign of spiritual awakening. You become very aware of your surroundings, like I always talk about in shadow work, right? You start to become aware of your surroundings in the sense of what it is you need to maybe cut away from yourself. You're very aware in that. And again, that could be person, places, and things. So you're very conscious of where you go, what you do, the people you associate with. And you're also very aware of your surroundings as a whole on a mental, emotional, and a spiritual level. It's another sign of awakening, right? I don't want to say sympathy, but you get more of a sense of empathy. When you start to exhibit natural caring for individuals, children, it could be things. I notice this happens to me a lot. Like something you might see, some stuff going on around you on the news. I know one thing on this path that, for whatever reason, I tap in on such a very sensitive and emotional level is any form of child suffering. I mean, I was always sensitive and aware to it, but it's gone to a whole nother level. When you start to feel empathy for things like that, and you become more emotional or sensitive to it, that sense of wanting to care, that's also another sign of spiritual awakening. Okay. You start to notice the spirit more, right? You start to sense things that maybe you didn't sense before. And when I say notice in the spirit, I want to be clear. It's not all the time that you're going to get some verbal communication from spirit. It could be you're getting a clear inner voice. That's the spirit speaking to you, right? You're getting a clear awareness of certain things that's going on around you, certain things you're able to process certain things and get answers, right? These are all signs that you're noticing the spirits or the demons and they're communicating with you. So keep all those things in mind, right? This is all important. Okay. All right. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Just posting some quotes. And this is a good one here. The hopelessness is what got me to the left-hand path. Yes, and that's why a lot of us are here, right? That's why a lot of us are here. So I just realized I wish I would have known how to do that. Take that other one off. All right, what else we got? I think that's it. That was the greenwashing. Playing around with this. I just learned how to do something. Look at that. Wish I would have known that in the last one. I would have took that misspell off. All right. I think that's it. We're going to wrap it up. Don't forget to check out the Patreon page if you want to participate in the classes. Again, I encourage you to go to patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. I encourage you to join Tier 3. That will give you access to the 3 private classes I do on Patreon every month and the ritual that we do at the end of the month. So highly would encourage you. That's the best way to get in on the classes I do. If you need to reach out to me for a spiritual reading or a consultation, shoot me an email at the email you see on the bottom of the screen, khnum19@gmail.com. I will send you information and prices and on the different types of readings that I offer. If you need to reach out to me for information on the 6th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference, we are going to start next week. Well, we could start. It's August. You can sign up now, register. You can attend it virtually, or you can come live. All right. Reach out to me. Hopefully, we got a better understanding now of the Black Sun. I'm sure we'll touch on this again later down the road. So hopefully this video helped you in regards to that. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate you guys supporting the channel. And I appreciate you guys supporting all the platforms. Primordial Chaos 9 on Instagram. Primordial Chaos, 2 words, on Facebook. Primordial Chaos here on YouTube. And again, check out the official Primordial Chaos Patreon page, patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. Again, I encourage you to join Tier 3. That will give you access to the monthly classes. 3 of them I do there privately every month, and the ritual. All right. Well, thank you guys all for tuning in. We'll talk soon. Infernal blessings to all. See you soon.